Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Week 16 edition of the QB List pregame live stream here. Here with me, I have Erik Smith. That is your last name, right?
Yeah, it's been a crazy weekend with all these games and holidays and stuff, but I think that's still my last name, so you got it.
At this point of the season, I can't remember hardly anything.
For sure.
But yeah, Week 16. Everyone, if you're tuning in, you're probably playing for a championship. Hopefully everybody didn't. Those of you watching didn't have to play Alvin Kamara. Unfortunately, I was playing him in one third place game for my money back, so it looks like I won't see that money again. But yeah, I know a lot of people, including Nick, of the godfather of pitcher lists. I beat him last week, but he would have had Kamara against our other rider, Kenny Hittenhoof. So he's thanking me for beating him. He's probably gonna end up beating me. So second and third place all around in my leagues. But Erik, are you playing for any championships?
Yeah, I'm in. We did a big staff guillotine league, actually. We started out with 17 teams, and we're down to 2. So I'm heads up in a guillotine league. Of course, I'm going against Alvin Kamara in that one. And I left Mike Evans on the bench, which sounds bad, but when you have like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, and when you have loaded rosters, it's down to 2 teams. You have to make some tough decisions. So hopefully I can come back today. I've got an Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams stack, and I've got a redraft league where I'm in the finals. I got a lot of third places this year, though. I just didn't have the hot hand in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and that was what happened to me. Was I dodged Kamara in the 2 championships I'm in, but I had to play Mike Evans in both. So
yeah,
got the unlucky draw there. But
Tampa Bay decided to wait till week 16 to feed all of their fantasy relevant players. It was great.
Yeah, Brady had 4 touchdowns in the first half or something like that.
Yeah, they got everyone a touchdown you could have wanted too. I mean, even Fournette got one. So
Gronk,
like I said, if you lasted this long, they paid off for you. But we could have used that earlier in the year. So
I think Gronk got 2 touchdowns, one from Brady, one from Gabbert, I believe.
Yep.
Sorry, I really didn't watch much of the games this weekend. I'm kind of in depression after losing my main league by 1 point last week. So, keeping up with it where I can, but kind of moved on in my mind to basketball.
Couple blowouts Saturday, so you didn't miss a ton. But that Dolphins-Raiders game had a pretty crazy finish. The Raiders found a creative way to lose that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know how that I saw that throw that Ron Fitzpatrick made with his helmet almost ripped off. I don't even know how he's able to get that pass off, but
he's not the best quarterback in the league, but if you were going to have someone make that throw, I feel like he's one of your top 5 choices. He does crazy things out there, so that fit him perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's like a mythical creature. I mean,
he really is. They say they're going back to Tua though, so I guess he's just the closer at this point.
Yeah, and they've had a few injuries, but I think Gesicki and Jakeem Grant played last night. Parker didn't. I kind of played Bowden, hoping he would get some targets, but he got targets. He only had like 2 catches though. So, but yeah, we've got a lot of injuries to cover. Some COVID related stuff in terms of, I think, contact tracing. First and foremost, Alex Smith looking like he's not going to play. They've already announced Dwayne Haskins as a starter. James Robinson, who kind of carried a lot of people, he was a waiver wire wonder for much of the year. He's not going to play. He's kind of missing a tough matchup anyway, so I'm not sure how good he'd do against Chicago. It might be a blessing in disguise for some people. And then, of course, the big news with the Browns, their flight was delayed. They were conducting contact tracing last night. They're going to be without Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know if they have some other players in that, but I know that's their, kind of big name receivers. I was all on board with playing Baker Mayfield this week against the Jets, but now it looks like, you might want to fade him.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're going to have Austin Hooper They got Marvin Hall, who they just picked up, but yeah, it's going to be rough. They had to call up a couple practice squad receivers, so yeah, probably more looks for Hooper, the tight ends, maybe even Kareem Hunt, but it's certainly, yeah, if you're streaming Baker, I would look elsewhere. This isn't a week to get cute in week 16, so I don't think I would mess with this Browns offense other than the running backs and maybe Hooper.
Yeah, and I actually, there's one league where I had him. I've pivoted to Mitch Trubisky. I mean, he's playing some pretty good ball. He's playing Jacksonville today. I think they give up like the second most points to quarterbacks, or at least in my league. I don't know. You may have to check your settings, but they're in the bottom three probably of points given up to quarterbacks. So not a bad position to be in if he's out there on your waiver wire. Julio Jones out again. I think they're just being careful with him with, nothing left to play for, unfortunately, besides draft picks at this point. Man, I really hate to, be a Falcons fan right now. There's been so many, typical Falcons. They've blown leads. They blew another one last week against the Bucs. I mean, this team could easily be, 9-5 or whatever it is, 9-6. But it's just unfortunate. Another big name player, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's not playing today in that game against the Falcons. So Le'Veon Bell the Falcons had been pretty good against the running back, but Le'Veon Bell, just on volume could have quite a bit today. They could get ahead also and lean on the run more.
Yep.
Tyler Boyd is out. I don't know. I don't really think I want to play any of the Bengals receiver. You're the Bengals expert, so you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, having Boyd out, it frees up some. Maybe they focus on T. Higgins a little more. It's a good matchup against Houston. I mean, it's a bad defense. You expect Houston to put up some points. They may throw it to Higgins, give him enough targets. But, yeah, generally in your fantasy championship, I don't want anyone attached to this Bengals offense right now. I mean, maybe Gio Bernard just because of the usage, but – T. Higgins, I think, is more interested than if Tyler Boyd was around. So that bumps him up a few notches in my rankings. But no, look elsewhere for the most part.
And then, of course, Duke Johnson, he's out. But, I mean, David Johnson's back, so you weren't starting him anyway. Golden Tate, no one's really putting him out there. Phillip Lindsay, Hunter Henry. The last kind of big one here is Christian McCaffrey, but they've been kind of protecting him for the last few weeks. And then Cam Akers, who looked like he was going to be a league winner between last week and this week, went down, and now looks like Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown. One of those two is probably going to have a decent day against Seattle. They're kind of in the bottom of the league in terms of rushing and passing, giving up. So I know in PPR leagues, I think they're like sixth most points to running back. So Darrell Henderson's probably worth if I had to start one, I'd start him over Malcolm Brown, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a lot of risk with Henderson, but it seems like Malcolm Brown they like him as a pass protector. He's not getting a ton of work. He's not real explosive. So I think there's at least some upside there with Darrell Henderson. He'd be my choice as well.
Now, I have to ask you, because I have this exact situation in the league I'm playing for third place and money back in. Mm-hmm. Would you play Le'Veon Bell or Malcolm Brown or Darrell Henderson?
Let me make sure on my rankings. I believe I would go Le'Veon Bell here, though.
I think just on volume alone, and I think that's the choice too.
Yeah, I definitely have Bell higher. I mean, it worries me. The Falcons aren't that bad against the run. They've been better against running backs this year. The Chiefs don't run a ton. But, yeah, I mean, Bell looked better last week than he had before. He should get the work. Maybe he'll get a touchdown. So, yeah, I think I'd go Bell. I'd be worried with Henderson that they throw it a lot and it's, Malcolm Brown mixes in too much. So, yeah. Yeah,
at this point, I have to go upside, and it's like I have those two and then Crowder. I'm probably just going to throw Crowder in there just for upside and one of those two. So, yeah, I guess Bell probably has more upside given that he's the only really healthy back. But
yeah, I suppose so. They'll mix in Darrell Williams, I'm sure. But yeah, I would go Bell there.
I mean, he had 14 last week against the Saints, and the Saints have pretty good defense. So,
Yep. Yep. We'll see. I'll be interested to see if the Falcons put up a fight for very long or if this turns into a blowout pretty quick. But I know the Falcons are hard to predict some weeks, but generally without Julio, I expect them to fall behind pretty easily.
And then as far as like the COVID news, we kind of talked about the Brown situation. And as far as I've seen, there's not any new cases or new stories developing this morning. So that's kind of – and I didn't see any weather-related issues popping up. I don't know if you saw any different.
No, I'll double check as we're going. Tonight, Titans against the Packers. It's going to be cold and fairly windy. So, I mean, of course, it's in Green Bay, so it's going to be cold. But they are expecting some wind. It didn't look like a crazy amount of wind, but I noticed the over-under dropped a little bit on that game. So I don't think it's going to matter. You're still going to play all your Packers and Titans, but maybe if you're deciding between a kicker or something, it does look like it's going to be a little bit cold and windy there.
Yeah, and one of the players, I have a buddy playing for the championship in our league, and he had Tannehill, and he's kind of done well for him all year, but then he let go of him this week because I don't love that matchup, especially in Green Bay for Tannehill. I know we don't have fans in the stands, but it's very cold, very tough place to play if you're a road quarterback. I think he played Jalen Hurts instead, which I think is much safer choice this week against Dallas, the way he's been playing.
Yep.
And kind of some of those other quarterbacks we mentioned. Baker would have been one, but now that he's not got his weapons, and then Mitch Trubisky, I almost would play Mitch over Tannehill this week. I don't know if that's crazy, but
I like the matchup for Tannehill. It's a better matchup for the ground for Derrick Henry for sure. But if the Packers put up a bunch of points, I think Tannehill's going to have to throw it. I have Hurts higher than Tannehill. I've got Hurts way up there this week, QB5. I just think he's going to run a ton this week against Dallas. But when it comes to Tannehill and Trubisky, I'd probably still play Tannehill. But I do get it. I mean, Trubisky's playing Jacksonville, and they should put up a lot of points. So I think the Titans' offense is really good. So as long as the wind, the cold, and Jair Alexander maybe shutting down one of the receivers, as long as that doesn't slow them down too much, I think they'll have a good week. But they're not that far apart, Tannehill and Trubisky.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's going to be the Titans' game plan is just go in and run Henry as much as they can because this run defense is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And Kenny says 15-mile-per-hour wind's supposed to be coming in that game, so –
yeah, that's not the worst. It's just when it's cold. That's kind of yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to be playing in it.
But yeah. I mean, this week and next week, we're just gonna kind of be here for you guys watching and any lineup questions you have, and then Erik's gonna kind of go over his rankings a little bit. Usually we talk like DFS plays, but this week, we're going to talk more rankings and just help you guys out with your lineups, hopefully win you some championships. I know a lot of people in the sit-start article on Reddit this week were saying that we helped them out tremendously.
Yeah.
A lot of people comment saying, "Hey, thank you guys so much for this. You got us to you got me to the championship." Tremendous, just like interaction with the community this week. A ton of people still there, coming back and reading with us, and we thank you for that. Especially because week 16, a lot of people check out. Kind of like I was saying, if you're not in the championship, you're checking out. But we still had a lot of viewers and stuff, and we'll be here for you next week as well with that in week 17. So I guess I'll hand it over to you, Erik, with your rankings. Wherever you want to start.
Yeah, so, I guess we'll just start at quarterback. Like I said before, I'm really high on Jalen Hurts this week. I've got him QB5 against Dallas. I just think it's a great matchup. Dallas's defense has played a little better lately, but they've also had these games where they played the Bengals, and the Bengals fumbled 3 times right out of the gate. The 49ers kind of did that last week, too. They fumbled twice right up front. So I think this Dallas defense is still worth attacking, and Jalen Hurts has 169 yards combined rushing over the last 2 weeks. So I do think teams are going to adjust to him eventually. We'll see how great of a passer he is. But for now, he's running like crazy. He even threw for 338 yards last week. So I would not talk yourself out of starting him. He's on fire. And outside of like the Lamar Jacksons, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers types, I'm starting him over just about everyone. So yeah, I've got Hurts really high. Feel really good about him. I think one player that's interesting is Josh Allen. I wasn't super sure where to rank him against New England because they have been really good against the pass and they've been really good against the pass and struggled against the run, but now they don't have Stephon Gilmore, and I wonder if that's going to completely flip. Last time against the Patriots, Josh Allen didn't have a huge week, and they ran the ball a ton. So I've got Josh Allen QB8. I wasn't exactly sure if they're going to just break out now that Gilmore's out or what, but that's a tricky matchup there. I think probably everyone's starting Josh Allen, but maybe if you picked up someone on waivers like Hurts or Herbert, it's a little tricky. So I don't know how you feel about Josh Allen this week against the Patriots.
Well, I mean, Fantasy Pros has Hurts 4 and Josh Allen 7, so you're pretty much in the ballpark, and they may actually be a little higher. They only have Mahomes, Murray, and Rodgers ahead of Jalen Hurts this week. But Josh Allen was actually a guy that I had, before I unfortunately lost by 1 point in my main league. I had Baker Mayfield picked out to start over him against the Jets for this specific reason, because I knew they were going to be playing New England. With the news, with all those guys being out, I actually flipped to Mitch Trubisky, and I'm still going to start. I'm going to start Mitch over Josh Allen just because I think there's a good chance that Josh Allen may get sat in this game at some point if they have it in hand. But the other thing is I just don't see the upside, and I think Mitch and some other players, Jalen Hurts was available in a lot of leagues. I think their upside this week's a lot higher than Josh Allen's. As much as, Josh Allen did incredible things for a lot of people this year, but I think he's like a top 5 quarterback on the year, if not higher.
Well, it sounds like we're on the same page because QB8, that's like low for Josh Allen. I've had him top 5 all year, so. Okay, yeah, same page. I wouldn't be surprised, though. I don't know how the Patriots are going to attack this game because they've never been out of playoff contention, it feels like. So I don't know if Belichick just sits all the starters or what. It's going to be a weird game to try to project, I think.
JPP Ellis 3 says, Browns or Steelers defense today?
Browns or Steelers? Let me get my rankings up here just to make sure. I got the Browns higher. I don't know. I think the Steelers' defense has been falling off a little bit. Philip Rivers has been playing really good football. I wouldn't expect them to get crazy and turn it over a bunch. So I think the Browns have more upside against the Jets. If they can get the lead and run it, get the Jets playing from behind, I like the Browns a lot.
Yeah, and I think I like them as well. The thing I worry about is with them missing those offensive weapons that the Browns kind of turn it over more, get them in bad position. Yeah. I don't know, but the Steelers are definitely missing. They're missing Bud Dupree and who's the other guy? Who's the other linebacker that got injured? It's been a few weeks now. I can't remember. Man.
You put me on the spot here.
Devin Bush.
Yeah, Bush. That's right.
Those two guys being out have really hindered this defense. And I don't know if you're going for, the Colts offense is a lot better than the Jets. So, Kenny says, is McKissick wide receiver 1 with Terry out? He'll probably definitely get – he doesn't get as many dump-offs, I feel like, without Alex Smith.
Yeah.
But
he still got a bunch last week, though. It's either him or Logan Thomas. I know they've got, Cam Sims and Steven Sims, I believe their names. They kind of bounce back and forth. But, I think it's going to be a lot of Logan Thomas and McKissick this week.
Yeah, and
because Logan Thomas had a big week last week. We were worried about Haskins coming back and looking away from him, or they kind of struggled early on in the year. But he had 15 targets last week, 13 catches. Logan Thomas did. So we might see another huge game out of Logan Thomas.
I just wonder how much Antonio Gibson we see today too. Because he's banged up, and they've been acting like they kind of want to sit him all week. I don't really know that they want to play him or not, but I haven't seen that he's out, so.
Yeah, let's get to him when we get to the running backs because I'm kind of not sure where to rank him as well, so we can talk through that one.
Kenny wants to know if he should sit Josh Allen for Tannehill against me in our QB list league.
So I have them. I think I still have Josh Allen ahead. Yeah, I've got Josh Allen ahead. So I know we're a little worried about the matchup, but I think no Gilmore is enough to push it, and Allen's so talented; they're playing so well, and then I don't know. Maybe they want to just kind of finish off the Patriots here and beat them by 30. So maybe they'll keep passing into the second half here.
Kenny actually had a Mike Evans, so I don't think he's got anything to worry about. I think I'm projected to lose by like 30 now. Zark Kingdom says Mooney, Cutie, or Shepard half PPR.
I believe that's going to be Kiki Cutie. Let me double check my rankings here, but I think it's pretty easily. I just like the matchup against the Bengals. I mean, their defense has been playing better lately, but I expect quite a few touchdowns here for Houston. So, yeah, I would go Cutie here.
I think that's who I have too. Mooney's not a bad one against Jacksonville, but usually if they're throwing, it's to Allen Robinson or the tight end, or so. Yeah, I think I like him better.
Yeah, and if Shepard had Daniel Jones, fully healthy, playing like he was earlier in the year, you could talk yourself into him. But yeah, I would go Cutie here.
He also says Pollard over Moss. I think so. I just don't. Moss, he doesn't score more than 5 to 8 points a week, usually.
Well, I mean, what are we thinking here with Pollard? I mean, at best case, like 50% of the snaps, right? If Zeke's back.
I mean, even when Zeke's in there, it seems like he's a decent PPR play. But I think they're going to limit Zeke more than they're letting on. So, I mean, and he just had a monster week last week. I just don't see Moss doing much against New England.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like last time against New England, Buffalo, both of their running backs went for 80 yards. Zach Moss had 81. They ran a ton, like I said. Moss had 80 yards last week. So, yeah, I think you're probably looking at 8 or so points out of Moss, and you're hoping for a touchdown. I don't know how much different that is with Pollard, although he did get a lot of passing game work last week. So maybe it matters. I guess it's probably half PPR. He asked that question before, so that kind of splits the difference on him too. Man, I would have a hard time playing Pollard with Zeke in there. That would be my problem. Is just they've really shown a willingness to lean on Zeke, even though Pollard looks like the better running back this year. I don't know.
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up. I hate to say it, but Pollard has looked much more explosive than Zeke. Which, I mean, Zeke's never been, in my opinion, an explosive, like he's more of a plotting running back, I guess. But
yeah, he's been explosive, but yeah, he's the type you give 25 carries to and wears down a defense. I mean, Pollard, before 9 targets last week, he's getting 2 targets, 1 target, 2, 0. So I don't know about the passing game work. I mean, I would probably go Moss just because, well, he's splitting the work too. I just kind of like the matchup a little more. But I can understand if you think that Zeke's not going to play as much as he usually does, then go Pollard. It's just kind of reading the coach, coach.
Yeah, there. I mean, Zeke's just been questionable like all week up, and they didn't really make a designation until yesterday.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I'm not the best at figuring out these injury situations. If we think they're just letting Zeke play just to kind of make him happy, but it's going to be a lot of Pollard, then go Pollard.
I just don't see any reason why they would push Zeke out there. Are they still in the? They're out of the playoff picture mainly, right? I mean, I know I think they'd have to have some like everything break their way.
Keeping up with NFC East is difficult. Let's see what we got here. I mean, they're only a game back of Washington, so I don't know all the tiebreaker stuff, but I'm pretty sure they're still going for it.
So maybe they will push Zeke. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think in the end they'll probably end up pretty close together, but I just think Pollard has more upside than Moss. But
yeah,
could be.
So I guess we're a little split there. I would just say watch up until kickoff, see if you can get some news on countdown or something saying what Zeke looks like today.
But yeah, continuing, where were we at? We talked about Hurts. We talked about Josh Allen in your QB rankings.
Yeah. Let me see if anyone else stands out here.
I mean, Deshaun Watson against Cincy should have a pretty nice day today.
Definitely, that's a great matchup. I'd still like Herbert against Denver. I mean, Bills lit him up last week. They're missing some secondary players. So I did drop Baker Mayfield just as we were talking, losing all those receivers. You got to figure it's a lot of running and short passing stuff. But I still think if you're desperate, you could stream them. If you missed out on some Saturday and Thursday players, and You don't like your situation. But I lowered Russell Wilson quite a bit in my rankings against the Rams. That offense has kind of fallen off a cliff lately, and the Rams defense looks really good. So, I know it's hard to sit Russell Wilson, but if you've got some of these options like Jalen Hurts and even Tannehill, maybe, depending on the weather, I don't know. I would think about it because they did not do well against the Rams last time out, and the Seattle passing game just doesn't look the same lately. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, there's no point going too far down quarterback rankings. I think most people have a good quarterback at this point. So, we can talk about running back if you want. Let's see here. So, yeah, I guess we mentioned Antonio Gibson. It's hard to know how much he's going to play. But again, they're fighting for the playoffs, so I would think they're going to use him. First off, I mean, would you rather start McKissick than Gibson?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I agree with that too. I'm trying to who you would rather start over Gibson. So like Giovanni Bernard against Houston, I kind of feel like in that case I'd rather take the upside of Gibson, right?
I'd still go. I think I'd go Gio Bernard against.
Yeah. It's hard for me because I'm a Bengals fan that's very negative on this team right now. But
it's really hard for me to just start anybody who's dealing with injury in a championship game.
Yeah, it's true. What scares me about Gio is that he hasn't been getting a lot of passing game work, so you can definitely run on Houston, but if they fall behind, it could get a little ugly. But okay, let's do Gio above Gibson. Mike Davis above Gibson.
They're playing Washington. I don't like that matchup.
No.
They've been
maybe that's the difference there. Maybe Gibson above Davis.
Washington's been really tough on running backs. I mean, they just have a nice unit defensively in general.
Yeah, they're locked in. So I do think the upside's there for Gibson, and he's worth. I mean, because that puts him around like RB 18 in my rankings, RB 19. So I still think he's playable.
Yeah, he's definitely playable. I just know that he's kind of been, kind of like Zeke, except they've been even more careful with what they've been. Because I was watching the news last night with Schefter talking about him, trying to see if they said anything else about him. Matt said, Matt said start Elf for Christmas Vacation. Well, I'm going Christmas Vacation. I think Elf's a little bit overrated. No one, don't at me.
No, I'm going Christmas Vacation too. It's a classic. So I like Elf, but it's a little bit more of like a background movie, I think, for me. Christmas Vacation, I'll be watching the whole thing.
And I told our buddies that I think Christmas Vacation might be the most rewatchable like Christmas movie every year. I mean, I know Christmas Story is the one that loops endlessly.
Yeah.
But, is it really a good movie? I don't know.
It's nostalgic. I think that's the big thing with that one. So it just, I don't know. Good memories, I guess it brings up.
So Schefter has 3 hours ago, he said, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, and Christian McCaffrey not expected to play. Antonio Gibson, Allen Robinson, Tyreek Hill, Zeke Elliott all expected to play.
Yep.
So he doesn't really say much about Gibson other than he's supposed to play today. And, I mean, they're going to have no McLaurin, Dwayne Haskins starting, Gibson banged up. I don't know how much upside they're going to – I mean, it is Carolina, so you can run on them.
Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, I think it puts him kind of mid-range RB2. I mean, he's risky, but if he's healthy, he could have a big game. So, Again, I mean, injury stuff, it's kind of the way you want to interpret it. Sometimes it's hard to give a definitive answer on how healthy someone is. We're just kind of reading the coach speak and listening to Schefter and doing the best we can. So definitely, the risk you're getting into with Gibson, but it does have some payoff.
Kenny says, I'm not going to answer this because I think it's probably the game against me, but you can answer who you'd put in his flex there.
Deontay Johnson or Melvin Gordon. Ooh, that's tough because I really like them both. Lindsey out. Gordon's got a nice matchup against the Chargers. He's been doing pretty well, getting some touchdowns. He's been playing a lot better than I thought he would this year. So Deontay is hard for me to rank very low because he gets so much target volume. Even with the drops and kind of struggling passing offense, I still have him wide receiver 13, but Does he say, is this, so this is full PPR too? Man, they're right on the border. I kind of like Melvin Gordon, which is weird because I normally would side with the receiver in PPR, and this Broncos offense is not very good, but I just have a hard time not seeing Gordon getting a lot of work, and he's been scoring touchdowns, so it's close. I don't want to steer Kenny wrong here, but that Steelers offense just worries me. So Gordon's got 15, 12, and 24 PPR points last 3 weeks, and they played some good teams: KC, Carolina, Buffalo. So I think I'd go with Gordon. I don't know.
All right, Kenny, there you go. Let's hope you make the right choice.
It's tough because it's Drew Lock or it's this Steelers offense that it just looks horrible right now. So both of them are a little scary to trust, but they both have a lot of upside.
The bad part is, too, not only, did I play Mike Evans yesterday, but I had Marvin Jones in both championships. Stafford got hurt. Had Hawkinson. So both lines just, went downhill for me.
That's a rough one. What do you throw, 3 passes?
Yeah.
Something like that?
So out of these receivers, I'll ask you this, too. Actually, start 2 of these receivers. Okay. What's his name? Tyron Johnson with Keenan Allen out, Sammy Watkins, T. Higgins, or Darnell Mooney. Which 2 of those would you start?
Oh, man. It's hard to ever trust Sammy Watkins a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm probably looking for other options. I think I would start T. Higgins because, they do have to pass the ball. It's pretty much just him and A.J. Green against the bad Houston secondary. So I think I'd probably get Higgins out there. He's still getting – he's like a part of their future. They're not going to just go away from him. He's still getting 6, 7, 8 targets every week. So Higgins, I would get in there. You said 2 of them?
Yeah.
And the other ones were Tyron, Watkins, and
Darnell
Mooney. I have a hard time trusting any of the Bears beyond Allen Robinson. Man. Tyron Johnson looked good when Keenan was barely playing last week. Denver secondary, like I said earlier, they're depleted. So I might go Higgins and Tyron Johnson. It's tough trusting someone like Johnson in week 16, but
the thing about Darnell, he had 16 last week and 10 the week before,
and he sees more snaps than Anthony Miller does, so he's on the field the most. He just splits up the work with them. You still got the tight ends involved. You got the running game involved. Allen Robinson. That's my only problem with Mooney is I think there are a lot of other options to get in the way of a big game here, especially if they have it in hand.
Is Brandon Allen starting at quarterback for the Bengals?
I think they're going with Finley. I haven't seen anything today about it, but Finley won them a game against the Steelers, so I don't know why they would mess with it.
That was really why I was worried about starting Higgins because I don't know how much of can trust.
As a Bengals fan, I should know this, but
well, and the other problem is I'm starting if I do T. Higgins, I'm starting him and Gio. You hate to lean on the Bengals. It's in the championship situation, but
yeah, that's a lot. Well, this says Brandon Allen was a full participant and is expected to start. I don't even know if it matters. Neither quarterback's been that good.
Houston's defense is so bad, and I think they lost another safety this morning.
Yeah. Both of the Bengals quarterbacks look bad, and Ryan Finley was getting stuff going with his legs last week, which I wouldn't expect him to do this week.
Marvin Hall's sitting out there too, but I don't know if you can trust that.
Yeah, that's scary. Because I don't think the Browns are gonna. If they don't have to, they're just gonna run it.
Yeah.
Brandon Allen's active. Zach Taylor hasn't named a starting quarterback. Indications throughout the week have been that Allen will get the starting nod, which seems weird when he was out and they beat the Steelers. But
I don't know. I kind of feel better about Higgins with Brandon Allen in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They're both pretty bad. So
all I got to do is just hope Jalen Hurts, has 50. That's the only way I think I can beat Kenny today.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's there could be worse gambles out there. So,
and that's the other thing. That's kind of what's going in my other championship league is like I have Deshaun Watson and Jalen Hurts, and that if somehow they can score a whole lot of points, maybe I have a chance. But
yeah.
Where were we at? Running backs?
Yeah, let me. I was just updating some rankings there because I had Ryan Finley in as the starter. So let's see here. Yeah, I was all set to just kind of zone out on the Bengals for the rest of the year and focus on fantasy football. And then they were beating the Steelers last week. I got sucked back in briefly, but it's hard to get too excited about this team with no Joe Burrow out there. So
I'm just hoping like the Falcons keep a top 5 pick. The GM and the coach gets settled. I hope we bring in. Yeah. I mean, they really reacted well to Raheem Morris, but his track record as a head coach has not been great.
Yeah.
And Matt Ryan has had defensive guys his whole career. Like, can we just get one offensive coach in there?
That would be the smart move, I would think.
I mean, I know a lot of people are saying Eric Bieniemy or somebody from the Chiefs staff. I saw that their quarterback coach is apparently getting a lot of interest too.
Yeah, I know a lot of the Bengals fans would be pretty happy with firing Zach Taylor and getting Bieniemy right now. So I think he would be a good choice personally.
And I know Louis Riddick has been, connected to a lot of GM positions. He interviewed with the Jags, interviewed with Jacksonville last week. So,
yeah. I mean, Falcons should be. I know you're kind of, if you don't like Matt Ryan and what they have, then they're not attractive. But if you like Matt Ryan and you want to win now, it should be fairly attractive situation. I mean, you got a good base of an offense to build around. So,
well, and they, Arthur Blank came out publicly and was like, kind of said that the new GM would have free reign to decide whether Julio and Matt Ryan stayed or got traded away. Yeah. But
I mean, I know they're getting up there, but unless you're going to a team that's going to draft Trevor Lawrence, I'd take my shots with Matt Ryan and Julio and Ridley. It's a good place to start.
I mean, I just don't think this. I don't think they're that bad. I mean, I know the record says otherwise, but yeah. I don't think the Falcons are so bad that you need to just tear it apart and trade the 2 biggest pieces on the team yet. I don't know. I mean, I could be in denial, but
no, I think you get a better play caller in there, and things could get interesting real quick. So, but I think that if you are going to tear it down, though, you got to go all the way. So, I think you either stick with them all or you get rid of everyone.
And that's the other thing is like Dirk Cutter's play calling has cost us, probably at least 2 or 3 games. I know it cost us that game against New Orleans. But yeah, I mean, the thing you get into, the only upside to trading both of those guys, you would relieve a lot of cap space. But because it seems like most of the teams that are successful, they get a great quarterback in the draft. They don't pay them a whole lot. They win while they're young and cheap.
Yep, for sure. But I don't know. You could talk me into keeping them. So I don't. I thought it was funny that game against the Bucs last week. They came out just doing all play action, and they were moving the ball down the field like crazy. And it was like, where has this been all year? Like it looked like really good offense, and then they fell apart in the second half. But I think a better play caller could get it going. All right, I guess we should talk about running backs here. Do you have any in particular you want to hear about, or should I just pick out a few? 'Cause I feel like a lot of the interesting ones already played. I was kind of trying to figure out Arizona and Miami, and I was worried about DeAndre Swift against Tampa Bay. Who else are we looking at?
Where do you have Gio Bernard ranked?
I've got him. Man, I got him up at RB17. I kind of wanted to have him lower, so I don't feel great about it. But it is the Houston defense, and they've been pretty bad. So I think you'll take your chances. He got a snap share back last week after that one weird week where they benched him. So I think you got to play him. He's not getting the passing game work without Burrow, so he's not like that safe, floor PPR back we used to think he was. So we really need them to be able to run the ball and stay kind of close, but maybe they can with Houston. So RB17.
How do you feel about Chris Carson this week against the Rams? Because I don't love that matchup.
No, I don't love it, but I've still got him at RB13. He's in a fairly good offense, even though they've struggled. He gets passing game work. He scores touchdowns. So I'm not expecting a huge game either against the Rams. That's a really good defense, but he manages to, put together a pretty solid week most weeks. I mean, last week against Washington, tough defense. He had 63 yards rushing, a couple catches, only 9 PPR points, but you get a touchdown in there and he's fine. So yeah, RB13. There's some players like Miles Sanders, David Johnson I have above him that I normally wouldn't, but I'd still start him.
Yeah, another one I had questions about because James Robinson's out. How do you feel about Dare Agumbawale?
Yeah, I would be reluctant to trust any of the backups. I mean, Agumbawale is like a special teams player and a pass catching back, and I don't think he's going to get many carries. I think it's all going to be passing game work, and he's only got like 3 catches on the year, so it's not like he's produced a whole lot. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. I think I would rather play a Zigbo, Divine Zigbo. I mean, he hasn't gotten any work either, but I think he's profiles as more of like a between the tackles guy who can actually get a little bit of work. But I would stay away from both of them. It's just week 16. You'd have to be in a pretty deep league because it's just they've played James Robinson so much. We haven't been able to see what they would do without him really. So you're just kind of guessing. And I don't think either of these players are real great. But do you think any differently on them?
No, given the matchup and then the fact that you don't know which one's going to be the better upside, I have a really hard time trusting either one.
I mean, there's a shot that, they get behind and they dump off 1 million passes to Agumbawale or something. That could happen, but I wouldn't trust it for sure. So yeah, let's go. I mean, where do we rank? I guess we already talked about the Cowboys' backfield, but I mean, Zeke, where do we put him? Like, would you rather play Kareem Hunt against the Jets over Zeke?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Hunt's been
Hunt's
been pretty bad lately, other than that one game against the Ravens. But I have Hunt above Zeke.
Yeah, but I think with all the weapons out, surely they'll get him more involved this week.
Yeah.
Especially against the Jets. I think Fantasy Pros had Zeke like 25th or so.
Yeah, so I've got him 23. I've got some players locked in that have already played. So I guess Zeke or Zach Moss against New England. I have Zeke ahead, just hoping for a bigger workload, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Moss outscore him.
Actually, they have Zeke. They have him all the way down at 31 now, and they've actually got Zach Moss right behind him at 32. So
okay, yeah, it's tough to know with Zeke.
I mean, I think I still like Zeke better than Zach Moss, but
yeah, I have him right above him in my rankings. So
I mean,
I would agree with that.
He's been pretty awful since Dak got hurt, and so I mean, even if he's playing today, you can't really.
But I kind of think I'd rather start Zeke over James Conner. I don't know what to expect from him, and he's playing the Colts. Conner's coming back from COVID.
And I think
running game isn't very good anyway.
Snell's snap share has been a lot higher than any other backs, I believe.
Yeah, and then Wayne Gallman, I mean, they're playing Baltimore. That offense has kind of fallen off lately. I think I'd rather play Zeke over Wayne Gallman and just hope you get the full workload. So that's kind of where I'm at with Zeke, is just ahead of those guys. But I would play your Mike Davises, Kareem Hunts, probably even Antonio Gibson ahead of him.
I will say that Baltimore has given up, a lot more points. Maybe not last week because that was just a really bad. But before that, they were giving up. They had some injuries along the defensive line and didn't look like the same defense in terms of stopping the run.
That is true. I just don't like the way that this Giants offense is trending. And maybe Daniel Jones is healthy enough now to pick it back up. But if he's not mobile, I really don't like their offense a whole lot.
Kenny says reports are coming out that Snell will be taking over the backfield today.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I got Connor all the way down at RB30. Let me move Snell a little bit up a little bit now. But yeah, I don't really love either of them. Just the offense isn't good, and that Colts defense is really good. Let's see. So Just catching up on some news here. So Damian Harris has been limited in practice. I mean, I think we can expect him to play, but I would expect both him and Sony Michel to kind of eat up the same role. So I think it kind of makes both of them unplayable.
Yeah, I don't love either one of them against the Bills.
Yeah, so I think I'd almost take my shot on Benny Snell over them and hope he gets a bigger workload. I don't know how definitive that was, or if that was just rumors on Benny Snell, but you never know. He could get the full workload or close to it. Let's see here. Other than that, I mean, I think we've gone through a pretty good amount of the running backs. I'm trying to see if there's anyone I would just stay away from. Like Ito Smith, I'm not real excited about playing him in Kansas City. I mean, I know the Falcons have kind of called him the starting running back, but I think they're still splitting it up 2 or 3 ways. So I don't know about you, Aaron, but I don't have Ito Smith very high.
No, I actually just dropped him in our QE list league.
Yeah. It's just the running game hasn't been that good anyway, and even though they said he's the starting running back, we've seen everyone get work. So yeah, I'm not trusting him much. Do you have any interest in Malcolm Brown against Seattle? Just hoping for a touchdown?
I mean, desperation play, maybe. I mean, I just trust Henderson more than I trust him, but you never know with this backfield. You know, they may go hot hand, and if he starts churning more so than Henderson, maybe Malcolm Brown is the one that gets all the points today. But
yeah, okay. Well, let's go to receiver. So yeah, it sounds like Keenan Allen's pretty much guaranteed to not play at this point.
mm-hmm.
We haven't really seen the injury designation yet because it's a 4:00 game, but they're reporting he's out. So
Hunter Henry's out too. So I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be Eckler, Williams, and Johnson, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess Williams would be interesting to talk about. I mean, he's burned a lot of players in the past, but he did have a good week when Keenan Allen was out earlier. So, I mean, would you be starting Mike Williams in a kind of flex role or wide receiver role in much leagues, or is he too high variance for you in week 16?
I mean, I think him and Johnson both are flex worthy probably this week.
Yeah.
Especially in, 14-team, maybe even 12-team league.
Yeah, I think it's hard to know. It could go a lot of different ways here. They could, run a lot, check down a lot, and take it easy, or they could just bomb it out to Guyton and Johnson and Williams, and I don't know. It's hard to predict what Anthony Lynn is going to do sometimes. So.
I just know, I mean, what I saw last week in terms of that Denver secondary getting lit up by Josh Allen. So
yeah, no, it's a good matchup for sure. Where are we at on John Brown? We haven't had much news on him, have we?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is he even playing? Because yesterday when I looked, he still had the IR designation in Yahoo. So
yeah, and he's a later game today, so we haven't got.
He's the Monday night game, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we just don't have as much news on him quite yet. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here, but that certainly makes Cole Beasley interesting. Yeah, last thing it said was they're weighing whether to activate him, and that was yesterday. So,
and I mean, I just don't know why they would at this point, right before they've already sealed the division.
Yeah,
I don't really know how much they can move up or down in the seeding. I haven't checked out the playoff standings and stuff, but
yeah, it sounds like he's really close, but they haven't given him the go-ahead yet. So I think you can still play Cole Beasley like you would have been. They look for some other wide receiver situations that are up in the air right now. I will say this looks like a nice spot for Corey Davis, especially if Jair Alexander takes A.J. Brown a lot and if Tennessee's trailing to Green Bay. So I have Corey Davis pretty high. And I also noticed he's had most of his high target shares in games where they've lost. So if you think the Packers are going to beat the Titans and have the lead, that tends to be a good thing for Corey Davis. So I think he's a pretty locked-in start. Same with Brandon Cooks against the Bengals. I know he's been a little up and down, but I'd get him in your lineups. I'm kind of just down on the Steelers passing game in general. So Juju Smith-Schuster drops down my rankings to wide receiver 27, which is pretty low for him. I hate this matchup against the Colts for them. Would you be starting Juju Smith-Schuster in a championship or?
Whew, it depends on my other options. I mean,
Yeah.
Juju's hard to sit, but against the Colts, not a whole lot of room for upside there.
Yeah, especially I mean his average depth of targets like 5. I think he just gets a bunch of dump off passes. So you really need the volume with him. If it's not a PPR league, I'd probably try to find a better option. But he's on the field a lot, and he'll get his 6, 7, 8 targets. So there are worse options. But maybe I'm overreacting to that Bengals game, but that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers, they looked like the best team in the league, and now they've really fallen off here the last few weeks.
Yeah, and it's been more than just a week or two. It's been a pretty good stretch. So, Panthers receivers, I'm a little lower on than I usually would be with Washington as the matchup. So, Curtis Samuel's wide receiver 36. The rest of them I have higher than that, but I don't expect a lot of points for the Panthers. If they can get pressure on Bridgewater, he sometimes looks a little shaky under pressure. So, I'd be looking elsewhere. Well, I don't know. I'd be looking elsewhere if you had Curtis Samuel. You can still start Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, but not the best matchup. Other than that, I mean, receiver, I think it's pretty clear this time of the year. I think most of your questions are going to be like the Mike Williams types or, maybe like Chad Hansen if, playing the Bengals. Maybe he has another nice week, but last week his week was kind of propped up by one long touchdown on a busted coverage, so I wouldn't be chasing the points on Chad Hansen. But he has been 13 or more PPR points the last 3 weeks, so he's been pretty solid. What do you think about the Packers secondary receivers against Tennessee, like Alan Lazard and Valdez-Scantling? You have any interest in either of them?
Yeah, I was looking at that last night. I almost thought about throwing Lazard in over some of those guys I told you earlier, like Higgins and them, but
yeah,
I think either one might have a chance for a touchdown. That's really all you're ever hoping for with both of those guys, I think, behind Adams, because Adams gets almost everything every week, but Valdez-Scantling or Lazard could have one big touchdown, and you got double digits on the week. So, and it's a nice matchup. Tennessee's secondary hasn't been good, so.
Yeah, I mean, Valdez-Scantling's had like 3 0-catch weeks in the last 4, and then his one game he had a catch, it was like 6 for 80 and a touchdown, so he's just so hard to predict. Lazard's seeing his snaps go up. He hasn't quite got the production yet, but he's trending in the right way as far as usage, so we'll see. He could have a nice week one of these weeks.
Biohazard says Hunt, JT, Gibson, pick 2, half PPR.
All right, Hunt, JT, or Gibson. I'm definitely going to have Jonathan Taylor in there. I know it's a tough matchup against the Steelers, but they're a good team. He's running the ball well, so he'll get lots of work. So definitely Jonathan Taylor. We talked a lot about Gibson earlier. I've got him ahead of Hunt. I think he's high risk, high reward, so we'll see. It's hard to kind of figure out the injury news because they haven't really given us a lot other than that he's going to play. So I think Gibson's got a lot of upside against Carolina if he plays a bunch of snaps. The ceiling is good, but the floor is low if he's still a little banged up. So I have Gibson RB18 and I have Kareem Hunt RB21. So they're close. If you'd rather just take the safe play, go with Hunt, but I do think Gibson has upside worth chasing.
And that's my thing. Like you said, Gibson's a risk reward. I think I'd rather go Hunt and Jonathan Taylor in this one. Yeah. A few weeks ago you would have said Hunt against the Steelers is, not something you would do, but
or no, Hunt's got the Jets.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Jonathan Taylor against the Steelers.
Oh yeah.
Something you wouldn't do, but I mean, the way they've looked the last few weeks, I don't think you're too worried about it. I think those two, him and Hunt, are the safer picks, and I think honestly they have more upside just given the fact that Washington's without McLaurin, Haskins is the starter. I don't think they're as good of a. I mean, he looked decent last week, but I don't know. I just don't think this offense is as good with him. But
that's fair. I guess it depends how much of this with the receivers out for the Browns, how much work you think is going to go Hunt's way. I mean, he's been under 10 PPR points most weeks, other than that Ravens game where he had six catches and 2 touchdowns. So if we can get some more passing game work from Hunt with no receivers, then yeah, I would start him over Gibson. So yeah, it just kind of depends on what you think of this Browns offense without all the receivers. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. There wasn't a ton of other receivers I wanted to talk about. Was there anyone you had questions on or situations you were curious about?
Just, I think we talked about all mine and earlier in those.
Yeah. And then tight end, I mean, it's, there's like those receivers down to like Robert Tonyan that are locked in starters. So actually, a little farther than that. Logan Thomas probably. I'd start them for sure. And then after that, you're just kind of chasing a touchdown. So I'll say it was encouraging. Jonnu Smith had 5 targets last week. And if they're in a little shootout here with the Packers, he could be up my rankings higher than he has been. He was seeing 2 targets some games. So, but yeah, tight end. I think we got tight end figured out at this point. You've either got one of the good ones or you're just hoping for a touchdown.
Matt says Gibson, DJ, or McKissick.
Gibson, just one.
I'm guessing DJ, you mean David Johnson, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would think so. So I have David Johnson higher. I have him RB11. I don't love David Johnson, but
I don't either, but I think I like him better than picking one of those guys.
Yeah, just playing the Bengals. I mean, he had 11 targets last week without Duke Johnson. I'm going to go DJ. I worry a little bit if they're ahead that we get 20 carries for 60 yards for DJ. I'd rather have the passing game work, but he should have a touchdown in this one. So
I'm thinking this might be a sneaky shootout game maybe. I think maybe we get a lot of points on both sides with these defenses.
If the Bengals quarterback can cooperate, then I would agree with you. We'll see. I wish Burrow was out there. This would be a fun one.
Yeah, how do you feel about – I mean, you think Burrow's going to be the same or better when he comes back next year, or what's the outlook on him?
I mean, all the reports have been encouraging. They're showing him, walking. He posted on Twitter of himself walking. I mean, it was barely walking, but hey, he's at least upright. So, yeah, I think he'll be fine. It's going to be a bummer if he loses a little bit of his mobility because he looked really good on the run, but – I think he's talented enough. He doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but I was really encouraged just with he didn't have very many of those rookie passes where it just looked like it was going to, get pick six the other way just because he read the coverage wrong. Like it was most of his picks were just forcing it into coverage. He really looks like a gamer, so I'm encouraged with him. They just got to block for him.
I actually picked him up in our keeper auction league just to stash, and I've got.
Yeah, he looks great. The team needs to help him, so I'm a little skeptical about that. But
Stephan X says Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. I don't know if you heard our conversation earlier, but I actually say Hurts over Allen this week just based on upside. So,
yep, I'm the same. It's crazy to do this time of the year, but Hurts is just running so much. Dallas defense isn't good. And we're not entirely sure. We talked about a lot earlier, Bills versus Patriots. I don't know if the Bills run it a lot, if they get up big and take it easy, sit some starters. We'll see. But, yeah, I'd take the rushing ability of Hurts on this one. Kenny's thanking us.
Thanks, Kenny. Please don't beat me today. It's the only, maybe the only championship I get.
He was in the final 3 of the Guillotine League. It's me and Matthew Kava now. So
when you get to the end, when you get to the end of the guillotine, is it still whoever has the lowest score wins, or then you try, or does it flip and then you're trying to get the highest score?
No, guillotine is just where the lowest score each week is eliminated. So basically, you're just trying not to be last place every week.
I see.
And as the last place team gets eliminated, their players get dispersed throughout the league. So at this point of the year, everyone is available other than who's on my team and Matthew's team. So they're like DFS lineups at this point. So it's pretty crazy. But I think his Kamara play is probably going to do me in. So it's hard to overcome that one. But I do have Derrick Henry, and I got a loaded team. So we will see. Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. It's pretty crazy. It's fun having a just completely stacked lineup. So it's a lot of fun. If you haven't done a guillotine league, I would recommend it. It's not as fun if you get eliminated like week 1, but other than that, it's a blast.
Well, Eric, I appreciate you being on with me. Looks like lineups are locked. Unless you got some 4:00 decisions or primetime decisions to make. Good luck to everyone in their championships. Again, we're going to do one last start of the year, week 17. Eric does his rankings every week. I assume he's going to do them for next week too.
I guess I have to, huh?
I know everyone's kind of like almost checked out. This fantasy season really did it. I mean, it seems like it gets shorter every year, but it flew by this year.
Yeah, it did.
We didn't hit a whole lot of. We had some COVID-related stuff go on, but it wasn't near as bad as a lot of people thought it was going to be. So, thankfully, we got through it. But good luck to everyone out there. We appreciate you coming on with us. Appreciate the support. And again, Eric, thanks for being on, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. See everyone. Thanks for joining us all year. And yeah, we'll be around for week 17, like you said. So,
all right, everyone. Good luck.